There is so much freaking content out there that it's just so hard to stay updated with the latest news, especially in the AI space. So I was thinking, well, why don't I pick a reputable source and I repurpose it and put it in somewhere where I could read it every day? And I was thinking, well, I have a website, so why don't I repurpose that information into a blog post so that I can also make my website a bit more discoverable, but not only through search engines. Why don't I make it discoverable by large language models as well, such as ChatGPT or Perplexity? Because now a lot of people are searching through these large language models instead of doing it directly through Google. So I did some research and I managed to build a workflow in n8n that aims to solve all those problems. So it pulls information directly from a source that I trust, it repurposes it into a blog post that is fully optimized for search engines, but also LLMs. And it also adds internal links and external links as well. And in this video, I'll exactly show you how this works. So let's dive in right away. All right, so here is the final result from the AI system, which I'm going to show you later. You can see the title, you can see the image generated by GPT-4o. You can add 4.1 if you want to make things a bit more realistic. And if you go a bit more down, you're going to see the main blog content. And the first thing that you're going to realize is that it's pretty neat and concise, which is something that search engines prefer, as well as LLMs that search through the internet. And you can also see the hierarchy is pretty spot on. So we have the H2 and then H3s, and it trickles down very nicely. And the key takeaways, which is very important for LLMs once again. The other thing that you can see is the link here. So this is a link to an authoritative external source, which takes directly to that blog, right? Which we kind of repurposed. And you can see also that the link is just not dropped only in a raw manner, right? Like it doesn't say here's the URL and then it drops the entire dirty URL. But instead what we're doing is putting the URL and then writing some nice content on top of it so that it follows the phrase nicely, right? So that you can read through the phrase nicely with the URL. So that's extra points for SEO as well. And yeah, so key takeaway, something important as I mentioned, and there's some key insights that's really nice as well. And in order to keep things very aesthetic, we also have these quotes, right? You can add these quotes in Markdown, which is really nice as well. It's always referring to sources, right? So system outperformed, alpha evolve, geometric insights, it's pretty well crafted. And I love as well if you didn't realize how it pulls certain keywords all the time, right? Which helps as well with SEO. But the main point is that it's concise and to the point, right? It tells you the right amount of information that you need to read. That's very important. And let's see, what else do we see? Right, so here is another authoritative external source that you can click in, and then this again helps with SEO. And then, very important, we add other links to other posts in our site, right? So that's very important. So it's good to have internal links and also external links, right? Sorry, external links and also internal links here at the end. So that when the user finishes, then, they might want to read a bit more. They might be interested about the topics that we discussed in this blog post, and they want to go to another post of ours. So therefore, we're keeping the person in the site for longer. That's the product. Now, we are going to go on to the workflows that I explained you how you can create these high quality blog posts without adding any keywords or kickstarting the workflow by yourself inside a CRM. All right, so you probably noticed that I'm using this RSS feed trigger at the start. So what's going to happen here is whenever a new post or a new piece of content appears on my RSS feed, we're going to trigger this workflow. And you might be wondering, where is RSS and what is an RSS feed? Well, with this platform, which stands for really simple syndication, that's what RSS stands for. This is a watch list of most of the content that is available online. So in this thing called feed, right, where I'm at right now, it's going to listen for any new content that a specific website or set of websites have created. And once they do, they're going to appear on this personalized feed that I have. And we can link this feed onto here by adding a URL that the RSS feed provides. So we have this feed URL. Another thing that you can do as well is create a bundle. So we have this bundle that allows us to pull more than one feed together. In that case, whenever any of these websites create content, we're going to see it on this unified feed. So it's great. But for the sake of the demo, I'm just using one site, okay? And I think this URL is great as well. So actually, you get to see the previous post that we had over here on my site, right? Okay, so we are going to come back here and we're going to continue. So now what we're doing, you know what, why don't we just run this, okay? And we're gonna see this second post over here, this second piece of content, which was the latest one. I think it came out 2 hours ago. You're gonna see how we're converting this onto a blog post for our site, okay? So we're doing a lot of things. We're extracting HTML, searching for titles, getting some keywords to do the SEO, getting some SEO data that we need, internal links, adding internal links, and also external links as well. I didn't add it here. Creating the main blog post body, and then we're cleaning for Webflow. We're doing some necessary changes in order to upload it to Webflow in a nice and clean way. So it doesn't matter on which website builder you're putting it on. The only thing that you will have to do is just understand a bit how that blog post content gets posted on your own website builder, and then just add an agent to just refine that a bit, right? But there's not much going on here. It's just a few changes which I'll explain now. You can add it onto WordPress or whatever. Right now what we're doing is we have created the post body, and now we're refining it by adding external links, and the agent is just doing some general checks. Passing it onto the HTML agent because we're passing it as HTML here, but Webflow is a bit picky with how we are rendering that content onto the site. So, you know, it's not purely HTML, it's Webflow HTML. They're very special about. So we're gonna do that. And we're also logging this onto Airtable. So you're gonna see now how this looks like. We're creating the item, right? The CMS item, we're posting it, and then it should appear on Airtable here. Don't even have to refresh this. I think we had a blank row here, so we're gonna go ahead and delete that. But essentially you would visit this every day or so, and you would have a look at, you know, what we posted on our site, so that you don't have to personally go to the site, right? You can just see it from here. And the thing with Airtable is that you can have different bases, so you don't have to leave Airtable, right? You can run most of your operations within Airtable. So, you know, having this blog post system over here just makes things easy. So you don't have to exit Airtable. So that's what's happening. Now that we run this, let's go through it step by step. So with the RSS feed trigger, we can see that, well, we are extracting some information. But the thing is that with this, it's pulling a link, right? Pulling a link from, you know, where this post is coming from. We get a title, blah, 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 publication date, and we also get some content, but this content is not from the blog post, all right? So what we have to do is use Firecrawl or some other provider to do the scraping. You could use Apify, I guess. You could use Brave Search. You could use Tavily as well. You might have the option to do that. What we're essentially doing is grabbing the link from where this blog post came from, because kind of only provides you, hey, you know, this happened, right? A new post appeared, but it doesn't show you the content directly. So pull in the URL, sending some headers to Firecrawl, authorization better, right? This is some typical stuff that you do with every HTTP request, calling the v1 endpoint, and we're sending some stuff, the URL, and we want it back in Markdown, okay? And we see here that we receive the actual data from the blog post. So that's great. Now what we're doing is converting everything to Markdown. So we're parsing the JSON data because it's wrapped within some other object that we don't want. So it's wrapped around. Let's see if we can get it out here. So maybe I can go in here. I see it's wrapped around all this. We don't want that, okay? So that's what we're doing with the code here. Maybe there's an easier way by adding a node that is available, but I like using code when possible. It just makes things a bit more flexible and sometimes it's more accurate, funny enough. Now we are going to clean the blog post title. So we're sanitizing the blog post title to search. We are adding here, this is an LLM chain. We are essentially getting the title because the title might be long, and we are returning a shorter title, and you'll see why we're doing that, okay? Because now we will be using another tool to search online for some keywords, okay? We're using the chat model here, average OpenAI chat model. And now we're passing that title, that blog post title, we're passing it to SERP API so that we're able to search for any keywords that appear by searching with this search query, right? So we are shortening the blog post title, and now we're searching on Google, and we're retrieving some keywords that people are looking for, all right? So we're looking at the total results, and I asked it to pick the top N. We're keeping a maximum of 6 keywords in this case, right? So the thing is that based from the title, so from the title that we have cleansed, right? Because the titles could be very, very long, and we don't want to search all of that in Google, because the longer the title, the less results we're gonna get back, right? So we want something concise and very general. So we went through SERP API and we extracted, so we have a lot of information, and I believe that it's ordered from, you know, most, in position. So here we see the top keyword, right? So the top query, and then it goes down until that. So essentially we want to pick the top X, right? Top 6, top 5, because those are the most important. And if we put those keywords into our blog post, then it's going to make our content more searchable, right? Online. So that's what we're doing. So that's what we're doing here, right? We're extracting the top, I believe the top 6. So we're going to have a look here. Yes, so keep at most 6. In this case, it's pulling 2 because I believe that those are the ones that seem to be the most relevant in our case. Hi there, just briefly want to stop the video to announce that I have finally launched my community, Neuro Architects, where I plan to bring together the smartest people in this space and business owners that want to build the systems of the future together using artificial intelligence. So inside this community, you'll find everything ranging from all the templates that I will make from the YouTube videos, as well as exclusive community calls, and also so much other stuff. So join right now, stay tuned, and I'll see you inside. And then we're going into the SEO Refiner. So with the SEO Refiner, we're essentially doing a couple of jobs that would otherwise, take 4 or 5 LLMs. We're just kind of batching everything together over here, which is why we have the output parser, which I'll explain in a bit. So let's have a look at the prompt. So we're asking it to do a couple of things, just to save some space, right? Instead of calling 5 different LLMs. This is essentially information that we need for Webflow to post the content. So we need an SEO title, we need a meta description as well, we need a short URL slug, right? So that we can add it at the end, right? Every post that we make has a URL, and this just gets added at the end. A summary as well, a 1-sentence visual concept, which we're gonna use to generate an image. We give an example of a typical JSON format, right? So this is a good thing with prompting. It's been researched that if you give it more than 2-3 examples versus giving it no example or 1 example, then it's just going to perform better. So the more examples that you give it, the better, until a certain point. There's like a magic number. But yeah, try to put 2-3, I would say between 2 to 6 examples, right? Because you don't want to get it too long either, because then we have other effects that are going to make the LLM more inaccurate, like the lost in the middle effect, which I don't know if you're aware, but it's interesting. You should search it up. We're passing the block in Markdown, and we're passing some keywords, right? And based on those, we are generating all of these. So you see here SEO title, meta description, slug, summary, and image description. Cool. And we're using the output parser here so that we are very sure that it puts it in the format that we want. Because with LLMs, they are prediction machines, and we need extra assurance that they're pulling out the right information in the right format, especially with structured data such as JSON. Now what we're doing is I'm going to my website, okay? So if I get the sitemap over here, what is a sitemap anyways? Well, it's a kind of a tree. So what I've added is the URL, right? So this URL, which is going to give me the sitemap for my site. I'm putting it on the URL and I'm pressing enter. And what we're going to get is essentially all of the different links. All of the different pages that my website has, okay? And we're going to use this to pull out the blogs, only the blogs, so that then we can add it as internal links. So if you remember from one of the blog posts over here, we're adding at the end further reading, right? So this is essentially, we're picking those blog posts by using this XML that I showed you before. So you can see here, we see architect.io/blogs/blogs/blogs, right? And then we see stuff here. So these are blogs. We want to pull these so that we can add it at the end for further recommendations, as you saw over here. Further reading, sorry. So that's what we're doing here. Then we're turning the XML, because it's a weird format, we're turning it to JSON so that we are able to process it inside n8n. Now what we're doing is pulling those internal links, putting it in a nice format, which we can then further process. All right, so now we are on one of the interesting parts. We're creating the actual blog post body. So we're passing the raw article in Markdown. We have the target keywords, added some. Did I add anything? Well, actually we already formatted it before in the code block. And please expand, enrich, and we structure the piece following the GEO rules. You might think, GEO, what is GEO? GEO is Generative Engine Optimization. So this is the concept that I was explaining you before, so that the content is discoverable by LLMs, right? So if you open this, we're giving it a bunch of stuff. So, follow GEO guidelines and a bunch of stuff that, to be fair, took me some time to get right. But yeah, it's all there. And I'll probably leave this in the community so you can grab it and build on top of it. But yeah, so system, and then also the prompt user message. It's returning us this nice little blog content, all formatted in Markdown. And also it's adding very nicely these target keywords so that we can optimize it for search engines. And yeah. That's pretty much what we're doing there. Right, so that's what we're doing. We're generating the blog image. So if you remember before, we asked one of the nodes to generate us a bunch of things, including an image description, right? That would be relevant based on the SEO title or the summary. So we're using it here, right? This image description to create that image. And we're asking it to respond with the image URL, style vivid, and this resolution, which is, there's other ones, but this is perfect for blogs, right? It's a bit wider. It's not a square or I guess a vertical rectangle. It's a normal rectangle, right? So width by height, right? This one would look like, 1024. So width, 1024 and then height. So it will look like a Tetris. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, generate an image, and obviously we're adding our credentials. So it's passing through a revised prompt, which I guess is generated by itself. And then we get the URL. So this URL, if we grab this, let's paste it onto our browser here, we see that we are able to see the image. And this has been generated by GPT-4o, and it's storing it in one of the servers that OpenAI has to store these things, right? To store these images. And if you have a close look, if you're curious, you're gonna see that they are storing it in a Windows server over here. So that's just something that if you were curious about, you can use different models. And again, you can swap this. Maybe, I don't know if you can use directly an open router. Okay, it's a chat model. So in order to access 4.1, I believe you can do it through the open router chat model, and you would need an agent for this. So you would add an AI agent and ask it to generate an image. And then as the chat model, you would put GPT 4.1. Then we have this block refiner, okay? And this is slightly more sophisticated because, we want to refine it. We want to add the right information and enrich it properly over here. So we're passing in the blog in Markdown, which we made already. We're passing in the source link as well, so that it can refer to the actual link that this information came from if it needs to, right? And then we also add the internal block links. We're adding a bunch of things over here. The block links are returned as follows, separated by commas, which is great. Then here we see what we're doing is passing all of these as inputs, and we're also asking it to use some tools. We're asking it to use these MCP tools, and these MCP tools just makes it a bit easier. It's a bit more flexible for these agents to use, and it's going to search for external links that are relevant to all of the inputs that we gave here, right? Relevant to the blog in itself, the source, right? And the internal block links. Well, maybe not the internal block links. That's just gonna add it here, right? We told it to just add external links. If there's any information that the agent thinks that might be relevant to link to, then please return me an external link, right? And you can change the number of external links as well that you want to add. So so you check over here. I asked it to embed exactly 2 authoritative external links, but if you want to add more links, up to you. I just thought that was the most optimal number, to not overcrowd or over-optimize the blog post. That's a blog refiner. And now we're doing some cleaning processes, right? Not much going on. We're turning the blog from Markdown onto HTML because that's how you can style things with most website builders. And now, just to make sure that it's following the exact HTML guidelines that Webflow suggests, we're giving it specific instructions for Webflow, and we're asking it in case it needs to iterate, right? Which is the beauty of agents as well, right? This is technically not an agent because it doesn't have all of the features that an agent should have. But what I like about using agents in this sense, right, separate to just a simple LLM, is that it can iterate. It can iterate, search for any issues that it had at some point, or refine its output in case it doesn't think that it's good enough, right? Maybe we add here a couple of benchmarks that, or an example of what we think is good, and then it's going to keep generating, iterating an output that is similar to our ideal output, which we can add here inside this prompt. Okay, so that's good. And now the final things is that we're creating the item on CMS. There's a specific link for this. We're adding our tokens. Obviously, you can't see the whole thing, which is good. And then we're adding a couple more things, which are standard. And we are passing in things. So we're actually creating the CMS item here. So if you go to Webflow here, we go over CMS here. Well, we just ran it again. So we see the Elon Musk post. But this is where it's going to appear, right? This is the interface where you can manage all of the posts that you've made. Not only posts, because it's a general thing, but you can see posts here as well. But we're asking it to create the item inside of Webflow, and we're passing it, all the necessary things. So the name, the slug, thumbnail image, published date, blog description, serial number, right? And this is all kind of a bit customizable. So you can add or remove these fields, but yeah. We're actually posting the item. So all we need to do here is just, since we created the item already, we pass the ID. So we're saying, hey, look for this ID from the list of, posts that we created and actually post it. Because on this one, it's just creating it, but it's not publishing it. So here we are actually publishing it. And then at the end, we are logging everything on Airtable, right? So we're adding the same information that we generated already, but on Airtable so we can track it, right? We can check out the blog post URL in itself right here. And yeah, I think I didn't show you the post yet. So let's have a look and see how, let's see how it looks. It looks pretty neat. We have here our first external link, which is great. To be fair, this is really good. I think I made another workflow on Make, and it wasn't this good because now you're able to add links so easily, right? At least you have code and you can manage, you can do some amazing transformations. You can manage and transform data so easily within n8n, which was so hard to do with Make, right? So whenever you want to do more complex things, like the things that I'm showing you right here, n8n is great for it. So yeah, we have our links and we have our further reading, which is amazing, right? And we're going back to the link that we previously made, so we know that it works, right? And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So we can also see the thumbnail URL, and now, well, the URL has changed because now we are calling it from Webflow servers, because now we uploaded the item in Webflow. But yeah, just little tiny stuff that you don't have to worry about. But yeah, I will leave this available in the community, right? In the free community. So I'll leave that in the description. And yeah, make sure to build on top of it and yeah, create amazing systems that you can use in your business, sell to other businesses, whatever you want, and everything in between. So yeah, obviously, as I said, this is not perfect like most workflows. So, feel free to take it, build on top of it, as I said, and yeah, enjoy. This is a really powerful workflow that I did not see in many places, right? Even this basic form, right? The fact of just adding internal and external links is not something that I see a lot. So yeah, enjoy it. And yeah, if you like the video, please drop a comment. And if you didn't like the video, just let me know why as well in the comments below. So like, subscribe, and thank you. I'll see you in the next one.